All right, this is the last chapter, and it's really short, so I'm gonna begin the video with something special. Got a dentist stick here from my roommate. She's been with me throughout the whole process, and she'll do some tricks for us if I tell her the dentist stick. Can you do some tricks, buddy? You do a sit, sit. Good job. Shake. Good work. Down. Tippity. Good job. Good girl. So that's my roommate. Her name is Lala. She's been with me the whole time that I've researched for this book, did my PhD, everything. So yeah. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to very quickly read the conclusion, which is basically about a page and a half, a page of text. I will explain the graphic, and then I will answer a few questions that I get pretty frequently with respect to the book, and just want to remind you that you can leave questions or comments down below, and I will try to answer them to the best of my ability. Okay, so here we are. This is the conclusion. Happy people play. Happy people play. Playful people live. Playfulness is the virtuous ability to regulate our leisure time. Playful people approach their leisure with a sense of seriousness, creativity, humility, optimism, and sociality. They play, rest, develop themselves, and engage their communities, all in service of living better lives and cultivating more justice. Playful people therefore stand a better chance at attaining happiness, and happy people are always playful. The stakes are high with playfulness. Playfulness is about free time, not only in the sense of being free from necessity, but also in the sense of practicing our freedom. I hope that my theory explains why Aristotle thought play a pharmakon, both a medicine and a drug. It is all about the dose. Playful people play much differently than non playful people. Non playful people are worth scrutinizing because they squander leisure. Playful people are worth celebrating because they use leisure to improve their characters and cultivate justice. They get life, and their leisure shows this. Playful activities teach us to be human. In rest, we sit with our mortality and cherish human finitude. In play, limits fall away and we transcend ourselves. In engaging others, we rehearse social roles and experiment with new ways of being human. If we are lucky, a significant portion of our time is dedicated to leisure, and in that arena, we do well to equip the virtue of playfulness. In the game of life, the end is death. Playfulness ensures that we do some living in the meantime. So that's it. Thank you so much. Again, the book is The Virtue of Playfulness by me, Boomer Trujillo. And I know that it's been a very imperfect read through, but I hope that it suits the purpose of helping students out, helping anyone who's interested in checking out the book. This is the book. Again, I should emphasize this here, at least through July 31st of 2024. You can use that code SMA22 on Routledge.com to get 20% off of the book. I realize that it's still pretty expensive, but yeah, you don't have to pay retail. You can get it at like a pretty good discount. So yeah. Now I did want to just sort of like showcase the graphic that's at the very end of the book. And the graphic is what's called the Temple of Playfulness by an artist named Kellalowar. And so I was able to commission him to help me draw this particular thing. Like I had the concept, obviously, and everything that's going on there. I don't explain it in the book. It's a little bit of an oversight, but it's also like we were right at the word limit. The word limit for this particular series is 50,000 words, and that includes notes and references and all of that, right? So, the Temple of Playfulness is basically this. What I tried to do is find a graphic way of representing the core thesis of the book, which is that playfulness as a character trait, right, is something that helps us to regulate our leisure time, to rest, develop ourselves, and engage our communities. So in this graphic, what you have is you have leisure being the foundation, right? Because that's the area of human life that this theory deals with the most. Leisure, again, just being broadly understood as the time that's free of basically any obligation, a time when we can just do things for the sake of what we want to do. And then on top of that, the roof is playfulness. That's sort of the culmination. That's what we're trying to get at. But it's supported by the 5 characteristics of my theory of playfulness. So you have seriousness, you have creativity, you have humility, you have optimism, and you have sociality. So all of those characteristics are talked about in chapter 4, but they're things that they're things that I think help to describe kind of what the playful person is up to. The playful person is someone who just broadly looks at their leisure time, tries to figure out what they need, tries to figure out how to become a better person, a better part of their communities. And I think that the playful person is someone who isn't just like, as I say, flaky or anything like that, in the sense that they will try to take their leisure time as seriously as possible, but they also won't let that turn into severity to where they learn how to improvise. Part of what I think really effectively playful people do is they stay committed enough to learn the skills or to take the activity seriously or to take themselves or the community seriously. But they also kind of like bend and break the rules whenever it's appropriate. There's a lot of fluidity, improvisation, creativity to kind of like what's going on in the playful life. So that's what those 5 columns are. They represent all of those qualities. And then there's 4 philosophers in all of the gaps there, and above them is a word for activities that are part of just leisure time. So the first character under the word play, because play is basically one of the other really core concepts here, is Aristotle. Aristotle is the man who wrote Nicomachean Ethics, which is the core of Aristotelian ethics. He is also the man whose work was revitalized by some of my philosophical heroes, people like Rosalind Hursthouse and Martha Nussbaum, who are just sort of titans in the field. So play is Aristotle. And then next to him, we have rest, and I have rest represented by Hipparchia. Hipparchia is a Cynic philosopher, really important for that Hellenistic philosophy that transitioned from Greek culture into a little bit of Roman culture. And next to her is Diogenes of Sinope, who's kind of like the quintessential cynic, a really important cynic who I've published a few articles on. There might be a book in the future about him. And he has community engagement or social engagement, right? Where you are trying to engage your community. And Diogenes definitely did that. And then at the very end, we have Athena under self development. And Athena is a really important person in Greek mythology. She is the goddess of war. You see this in a lot of epic poems, but she's also the goddess of wisdom. So she's like really badass, really intelligent, often trying to help people out. And so she's important for philosophy, being her association with wisdom, and self development. I think represents all of the ways in which she's like a very cultivated goddess who's always trying to help people out in many ways. She's also the namesake of Athens, right? Athens is named after Athena. Okay, so that's the graphic. Hopefully it helps. I should have explained it in the book. I just didn't for whatever reason. Okay, so the first couple of questions from friends and family and students tend to be, um, they'll ask, how long did it take you to do this, and how are you feeling about it now that the book has come out? So how long did it take me? It took me a long time. I started, and this is in the acknowledgments, which I didn't read in the YouTube videos, but it started with a workshop at the Robert Penn Warren Center for the Humanities at Vanderbilt, where I was doing my PhD. And basically, I got one of my friends to help me run a workshop on play. So he was a scholar in German, and he was doing a lot of stuff on video games and the digital humanities. So we invited basically a bunch of our favorite scholars to give talks to us. We got a lot of books. We invited the general public to come and hang out and read books with us and have conversations, and it was a lot of fun. The other thing that was really important for me was for the grad students at Vanderbilt, the graduate student government always hosted an annual 3-minute thesis competition, which was really cool. You have one slide. The slide can have zero animation, zero sound, or anything, and you have 3 minutes to explain your research to an audience of non-specialists. So for me, I couldn't just talk to philosophers, right? I had to be able to talk to pretty much anyone, members of the public, engineers, whoever else it was. And that was like a really, really great intellectual exercise to try and get my research to like make sense to a lot of different audiences. And then that eventually led to the dissertation. The dissertation is just in a PhD program, you have a couple of years of coursework, and then basically you have a couple of years to write a dissertation. Generally speaking, it took me about a year to write my manuscript, to pass the defense, and then I had a couple of months to do some revisions or whatever else after that. And then I got my first job as a professor at the University of Louisville, and still, really, really liked that school. Loved a lot of my colleagues. In fact, one of my colleagues, Avery Kohlers, is footnoted in the very last chapter, which I just read, and a bunch of them helped me along the way. And I was there for 3 years, but it was a weird 3 years because it was also during COVID. So that was just like a weird time for everyone. And during that time, I was kind of like, thinking about revising, but wasn't getting a lot done just because of COVID and everything moved online, etc. Then I took a job at the University of Texas at El Paso, where I currently am, at least of this video right now. And my chair and colleague basically encouraged me to revise the book, and then eventually Rutledge picked it up, which was really, really wonderful. So we're talking about a very long process, despite the fact that the book is, it's a relatively short book. But I hope that there's not too many wasted words. I hope that the style is somewhat approachable. It's still like a scholarly book, and lots of references, lots of big words, that kind of stuff. But I hope that the videos kind of like help make the ideas a little bit accessible. Or yeah. I hope it's okay. The last question that I'll deal with was basically like they'll kind of like ask, well, why did you write this book? And I remember I got this question in my defense for my dissertation from one of my like closest advisors. My chair of my dissertation was a man named John Locks. He recently passed away. He was exemplary and a really wonderful advisor. And then the other advisor who really helped me a ton, like gave me pages and pages of comments and was always helping me out, was a man named Jeffrey Tlumack. And Tlumack asked me, why I decided to write this topic, because you could write about anything in philosophy. And I joked that it was because I'm kind of like a miserable person in some ways. Sometimes we write most about the things that we don't have. Now I don't think that that's always the case, right? But he laughed at it, and I think that it was like a good enough joke in the context. But I think that like a more serious answer is that playfulness or the activity of play is just something that isn't it's not given enough attention. Now, there are a lot of people who write about it. So a lot of the people who endorse this at the very beginning of the book, again, I didn't read the endorsements. They're very serious scholars who are writing on this, right? There are sort of quintessential works in this field. Probably the big work is this dialogue written by a philosopher, Bernard Suits, on called The Grasshopper. So that's like a really, really influential text in this field. A lot of people who react to it. In fact, if I have it, just messed up my lamp a little bit, but yeah, this is it. So this is a book that's super important for the field, and then a lot of people kind of talked about it recently. The work of C.T. Wen. He has written a lot about philosophy and games and a little bit of the epistemology side of play. So he's helped to revitalize the field a little bit, or get it into popular culture. And so it's just a good time to kind of talk about these ideas. But generally speaking, the reason why I think it's important and is the ethics. I'm an ethicist in addition to doing Greek philosophy and stuff like that, because I think that it's really, really, really important that we pay attention to how we spend our leisure time. A lot of people just kind of discount free time as not important. These are the people who work their life away. I think that's a huge mistake. I think very, very profound and really important things happen in our leisure time, even if it's something as simple as eating burritos with our friends, or drinking coffee with our friends, or taking someone out on a date, going and watching a concert. A lot of those stuff, like a lot of things, I think in a field like philosophy, which has a reputation for being very serious and very academic, there there isn't, there could be a temptation to just dismiss that stuff and think that we need to ask these really, really abstract questions. But I think we need to pay attention to the everyday life stuff. And so this is my attempt to try and get us to talk about something that I really love. And then in my life, it's been incredibly important to talk about the various things. When I think about the stuff that shaped me over the course of my life, first and foremost, it's like my loved ones, so my family and my friends. They're in here a little bit. They're especially in the acknowledgments. But then I also think about the activities. So not just school, because obviously I became a professor, but also like I played football, I powerlifted, I played guitar in some hardcore bands. I kept that sort of like artistic edge. I drew stuff and like made stickers, street art, all that kind of stuff. That all that stuff has been really, really important to me, and I wanted to find a way to address that kind of stuff. And then I think the COVID pandemic showed especially how important leisure time, how important friends are, how important creativity is, all of that stuff, because the ways that I was keeping myself sane and the ways that a lot of my friends were coping was through finding ways to deal with this time that we had, and the anxiety that we had, and the uncertainty in the world. And for me, especially during lockdown, that was messing around on the internet. So like Twitch was really important for me, where you live stream stuff, twitch.tv. Improv comedy that I watched a lot on Twitch. So a lot of friends who I made. And then once stuff started opening back up, I slowly like realized it was like cafes, it was churches, it was all of the stuff that I just hadn't been able to do during the pandemic that really, really helped me out. And because I've had to be in lots of different cities because of my education and various jobs, um, the point just became more and more obvious, that it's really important to consider how we use our leisure time. That the leisure time activities, be it like cafes or sports or artistic communities, were places where I was finding friends. And so I wanted to write something on it. So we'll see what happens. If you happen to be in the area, so there's a philosophy conference that happens every single summer at Santa Fe, New Mexico, the Rocky Mountain division of the American Society for Aesthetics. And there's going to be an author meets critics panel on my book there. That should be kind of like a cool conversation. So that's happening in July of 2024. So not much use to anyone who finds the video afterward or who isn't in the Santa Fe area. But yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff coming out on that. So lastly, because I want to keep this video relatively short, again, just a reminder, you can ask whatever questions in the comments. To a certain extent, I could have produced these videos at a much higher quality. I had friends who volunteered to help me remove some of the background noises and stuff like that. But I'm just kind of like putting this out there as, a free aid, right? Um, and I hope that the errors aren't too glaring or too horrible. The last question that people often ask is, like, how can I get a copy of the book, or how can I help out? And so you can get this at like most online booksellers. It's an academic title, so most bookstores won't have anything like this. I would recommend buying it from Routledge with the discount code that I put up there, just because that's probably the cheapest way to get it. Routledge was at least offering free shipping, and they were offering the 20% discount code. I know that there are sellers like Amazon or whatever, but Amazon may or may not match it. So for a while they were selling it at the full retail price of $64.95. I think they weren't giving a discount. Then they were giving a discount. The other thing is, like, with any academic press, So, Rutledge, but also Oxford, Cambridge, MIT, Princeton, Yale, these kinds of presses. Follow their social media because very often they will run sales throughout the year and you can get like um, 20% plus sometimes even more than that if you just follow and they'll give discounts on that kind of thing. But I know that it's expensive. A paperback will come out in 18 months, but that's not any use to you if you're trying to get the book now. Um, so one of the things that you can do is also just get your library to grab a copy. So many libraries have what's called interlibrary loan, and you can get it that way. If you go to a university library, there's a really good chance that you have like Taylor and Francis, which is the parent company of Rutledge. They have a lot of online titles. This is in there. Otherwise, you can interlibrary loan it. You can request to a librarian that they pick up this book. That would be super helpful. But yeah, I mean, if anything is ever preventing you from getting access to the book, feel free to just like email me. My email should be very, very easy to find. If you Google my name, you should be able to find that sort of information. And then like the other ways that you could kind of like help out with this sort of stuff is leave a review on Amazon or Goodreads. Recommend the book to your friends, whatever else. But I just want to thank you. Like, seriously, thank you for spending your time. Thank you for listening to this. Thank you for putting up with the, imperfect quality of this. It could be better, but I'm just trying to do this, put this out there while I have some free time before I have to start doing work again. So thank you so much for your time, for your attention, for supporting the project, at least clicking on this video. And, I'll probably see you in some videos in the future. Thanks. I really appreciate it.